In this lesson, we will see the method to create a typical 3-panel window. But before we create the window, we will see the various objects in a window and the dimensions of these objects. In a window, basically there are 3 objects. There is window frame, then there are panels or shutters inside the frame, then there is window glass inside each panel. Now let's see the dimensions of these objects. The width of the window frame is 6 cm. The thickness of the window frame is 10 cm. Thickness is the surface that is going inside. Similarly, shutter frame has a width of 8 cm and the shutter thickness is 2.5 cm or 1 inch. Now you are familiar with various objects in a window. Let's make this window using Autocad. Before we make the window, we have to turn on only those selected layers and other layers can be kept in the frozen state. So I'll go to Layer Properties Manager. Then I'll select layers from doors and windows to walls. Then I'll give freeze. I'll freeze all these layers. Okay, now I'll keep only those layers which starts with 3D. Now I'll create some new layers as and when required. Okay, now I'll just close this dialog box. I would like to start with a profile of the window, and that profile can be kept in the same layer as that of 3D door frame because the window frame and the door frame is going to share the same material. So I'll start with the polyline. Now I'll trace the boundary here. Now I'll give an offset command and I have to give the width of the frame. The offset distance is equal to the width of the frame. Width of the frame, as we have seen before, is 6 centimeters. So I'll give 6 and I'll select the object to offset and I'll pick the side to offset. So I have made 2 profiles. Now we have to extrude these profiles through a distance equal to the thickness of the frame, and we have seen that the thickness of the frame is 10 units. So it has to be taken in the negative z-axis direction, so you have to give -10. So it has got a thickness. Now when you give shade or hide, you can see that you have 2 overlapping boxes, so you have to perform a subtraction operation and just give SU for subtract, and you select the outer box and just give an enter and select the inner box and enter. Now you can see that you have made an outer frame. Okay, now we have to make the partition frames. Since this is a 3-panel window, there will be 2 partition frames. So in order to get the proper division, you have to start with a polyline here. Okay, then I'll pick a point here. And this polyline we will divide into 3 equal parts. Now before you divide it, you have to extend these 2 lines and points, okay, through half the distance of the frame width, because the frame width is 6 centimeter, so the half the distance is 3 centimeter. So we'll give 3 centimeter. This side we will just extend it. So we have actually performed a grip editing. You know what's grip editing. So just click here, you will get an active grip and turn the cursor in the desired direction and you type the distance. It has moved. I have to perform a similar extension operation in the other side. So I'll select this line and you have got the grip, and you select the grip and you just take the cursor in this direction, just point it in this direction. Now you have to type the value, which is 3. Now we do this extension to get a proper even division. Okay, so now I'll perform divide command. So just give divide. I'll give divide and you select this line that is to be divided. Now you have to give, it'll ask you for the number of segments. I'll give number of segments as 3. Okay, now when you give divide command, you can see that the software places points along the length of this line. Sometimes by default you won't see these points appearing because by default a point is displayed as a dot in Autocad, and whenever you want to change the point display representation, you have to give a command called ddp type. and you will see various representations, and you can just take any desired representation. For example, if I want, I can switch over to this representation and just give an OK. You can see that the representation changes. Now I have to draw lines to indicate partitions. So I'll just give polyline. I'll start from this point. Okay, I'll be able to get this point only when the node option in object snap is on. In object snap, you can see that there is an option called node. Okay, this option is meant to snap on to or to catch those points which are obtained in Autocad. So I'll just snap onto this point. I've got this point here now. Now I'll just draw a perpendicular to this line. I've got that line there. Now I can give offset command, and I should give an offset of 3 units, which is half the frame width to both sides. I'll give select object as this and side as this, select object as this and side as this. So 3 unit it is offsetted in both sides. Hence I've got a total frame width of 6 units. Now you can just erase this line because it's no longer required. Now I'll connect these 2 endpoints using another polyline. Okay. Now I'll give p-edit command. I have to join this into a single profile. Then only I'll be able to extrude it. So I'll give p-edit and I'll select this polyline. Then I can go to join option and I'll select this line and this line, and I'll just give close to close it. So I've closed it. Now you can see that I've got a single profile. Now this can be readily extruded. So I'll give extrude command. When I'm asked to give height of extrusion, the thickness of extrusion, it is -10. Now I can copy this object onto this side, onto this particular position. So I'll give copy and I'll select this partition frame. Then I'll give base point as this node, and second point is again this node, because since the node is activated in OSNAP, you can readily cast this point. Now you've got 2 partitions. Now we have drawn a construction line here for division purpose, and we have 2 nodes here. All these objects can be erased. So I'll give an erase command and I'll make use of a standard window to perform the erasure operation. Now I have got outer frame as well as partition frame, and these objects can be combined as a single object by giving the union command. So I give union boolean operation and I'll select this and these 2 frames. Just give an enter. Now you can see that you have made the first object in the window, which is the frame. Next object is the window shutter. So since the window shutter is also going to share the same material or finish as that of the frame, you don't have to create any layers. Now I'll trace the polyline profile over here, which is the profile for the shutter. I'll connect these endpoints and I'll just give close. Now this is the profile which is traced. Now I'll give offset command and I should offset it through a distance of the width of the shutter, and we have seen that the width is 8 cm. So I'll give 8 as the offset distance and I'll select the object to offset and the side to offset. Now I have to perform a normal extrusion. So I'll give extrude. I'll select both these profiles and I should give an extrusion equal to the thickness of the shutter, and we have seen that the thickness is 2.5 cm. So since it is in the negative z direction, it has to be minus 2.5. So I give minus 2.5. Now you have to, when you shade it, you can see that you have 2 boxes which are overlapping. To get the realistic frame effect, you have to perform a subtraction. So I'll give subtract and I'll select the outer and give enter, and select the inner one and give another enter. Now we have made the shutter frame. This is the frame for the shutter. Next we will create a vertical member and a number of horizontal members inside the shutter that actually supports the glass. So for that I'll start with the polyline. From this mid to perpendicular or to this mid, then I'll just give offset command and I'll give an offset distance of 1.5 to both sides, because this vertical member width is 3 centimeters. So I took 1.5 to both sides. Now you can just connect these two endpoints using another polyline. Now I'll go to P-edit command and I'll select this polyline. Then I'll go to join option and I'll select this polyline as well as this one. Okay, now these three segments are single segment. You have got a message and you have to give close here. I'll give close to connect the bottom endpoints. Now you can see that it is a single closed profile. Now this can be readily extruded. So I'll give extrude command and the height of extrusion is 2.5 units. Now you can see that you have made a vertical member. Okay, now we have to create a number of horizontal members. For that you have to give a divide command and you have to select this line which you have drawn first to draw this vertical member, and it will ask you for the number of segments. I'll give 5 as the number of segments. Now you can see that it has placed points along its length. Now you can draw a horizontal member here, a horizontal line here, in fact a polyline I have drawn. Okay, now I'll move this polyline and base point is this and the second point is this node which is appearing here. So you can select this as the second point. Okay, now you have to again give offset 1.5 to both sides. Select object to offset, side to offset, then object and side. Now erase this center line. Now you can just draw polylines connecting these two endpoints. In fact, steps are rather similar. Now just give P-edit and select this. Then go to join option, select this polyline as well as this one. Now you can just give a close. Okay, now you can see that you have made a single profile. Now you can extrude it and height of extrusion is 2.5. Okay, now we have made a horizontal member. These horizontal members can be copied to other locations. So I'll go to copy and I'll select this. Base point is this node, second point is this node, this one and this one. Now you can erase these nodes as well as that vertical line which you have drawn first, because you don't need any unwanted lines in your drawing. Okay, now this vertical member as well as the horizontal member is the part of the shutter. So you can just give a union operation and you can select this shutter frame and this vertical member as well as all the horizontal members. You can say that you have made a single object. Now we have come to the last element of the window, which is the window glass. Since the window glass is going to have a totally different material, which is the glass finish, we have to create that object in a different layer. So I'll go to Layer Properties Manager and I'll create a new layer and I'll call that layer name as 3D Wind Glass. Okay, and for that layer I'll give a color which is a bluish tint I'll give. Okay, now I have to make that as the current layer. So I'll just click on current layer. So that is made as a current layer. Now I'll go to polyline. I have to actually position the glass the midway at the shutter width. So I'll start from here at the mid of this thickness. Then I can come to this point and I can come down to this point and I'll just give a close. In fact, even if the glass has got a slight thickness, you don't have to create that thickness. Instead, you can just give a 0 thickness for this. Only thing is you need a surface to indicate the glass. So I'll give a region command, because you know in AutoCAD region command can give you a surface out of a closed boundary. So I've made a region. Now you can just shade it. You can see that you have made a surface there. Okay. Now here the problem is the window shutter and the frame are in the same plane. So when you apply the same finish, these two objects will get merged and you won't be able to make out the difference between the planes. Even if they are in the same plane, just to distinguish these two objects, it is better to move the shutter through a slight distance inward. Say I'll move through a distance of say 2.5. centimeter. So let's do that. So I'll go to move command and I'll select this shutter and the glass. Base point I'll pick over here and I'll give a distance of say 2.5. Now you can give a shade and you can make out the difference between these two objects because they are in a total two different planes. Now let's copy the same shutter onto the other positions. So I'll just give copy and I'll select the shutter and the glass. I'll select this as the base point and I'll select this as the second point. You have to choose the corresponding points. Okay, now you can just shade it and we have completed the window, 3-panel window. Now you can also move the entire window inward along the cutout of the wall, just as you have done for the door, to feel the recess of the wall. That means a little bit of wall can be exposed. That will also add to the depth of the 3D work. So what I'll do is I'll just give move command and I'll select the base point as this and second point as this. So the entire window is moved inward along the cutout of the wall and you can shade it. So this recess will give you more realism. So this is how you make a window in AutoCAD 3D. But in fact, we have several other locations wherein windows in different dimensions are to be inserted. You have to stick to the same procedure to create windows in these respective locations. By the time you complete this, your model will appear like this. So you have windows in different locations. Okay, so you can make a try. All the best.